going to be restoring this lovely sewing machine here. Completely different for the channel. I figured it'd be a nice, interesting change instead of vintage computers or modern computers. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm going to be starting a restoration of something that I really didn't think I was going to restore. I never thought I was going to find one. So let's just talk about it real quick. I'm going to be restoring this lovely sewing machine here. Completely different for the channel. I figured it'd be a nice, interesting change instead of vintage computers or modern computers. But I've never heard of the brand. Osborne. Must be a knockoff of Singer, so probably can't be worth that much, right? I am absolutely kidding. I know exactly what this is. So first I want to talk about this little machine real quick, or little machine. This 24, 25 pound monstrosity that is the portable computer known as the Osborne. It's got a lot of names. It's called the Osborne 1, but it's technically called the Osborne OCC 1. It's from the Osborne Computer Company, and it's actually, I'm going to do a lot more research on this thing, so I don't, talk out of my, rear end here. But this particular machine came out very early 80s, and it's actually regarded as one of the first, if not the first, commercially successful portable computers. And yes, this giant monstrosity is a computer, complete with tiny little 5-inch CRT television, monitor, built-in keyboard, floppy drives. So yeah. So the story with this little thing, or this thing is, anyway, that in my hometown I'm always looking out for old vintage computers, and I had talked to several businesses around town. And one of the businesses I talked to, the lady was very gruff, or the gentleman was very gruff, and not really, I ain't got nothing like that. I ain't got no old computers. Well, I was talking to somebody who had bought the estate of the gentleman that had passed away. She was friends with the wife, if I remember correctly. And she said that she bought it basically the estate and was selling it out. And she called me and said, hey, I have this old computer here you might be interested in. And at first and this was around the time when I was actually slowing down from trying to find computers, because a lot of the computers I was getting information on was the Vista and 7 era, 8.1 era stuff. I was getting a lot of stuff that was Core 2 Duos, Core 2 Quads, the Core I stuff, and it was kind of getting old because the stuff I had to take apart and scrap and take to the scrapyard, because that era of computer stuff, to me, even though I do deal with modern computers as well, clearly, I just wasn't interested in finding that stuff. So when she called me and said this, I about just said, you know what, if it's anything, 2010 and newer, just take it to the scrapyard, I'm not interested. She said, no, it's about the size of a suitcase. In fact, it is a suitcase. So I went and looked at it, and I couldn't believe my eyes, and I saw that it was an Osborne. Especially, this isn't an earlier model Osborne. This is actually what I believe to be a later version of the Osborne 1. And I'm only saying that because there's a couple different revisions of these. And when I Googled this thing, there's some of them that have a different monitor. I don't know if it's just a revision or what. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because David Murray, the 8-bit guy, restored one of these on his channel. I'm going to be restoring this one as well. But I don't need to go through the extent that he did, luckily. There is some yellowing on it, as you can see here. And there's some yellowing on the back here too, but it's not going to be nearly the extensive that he did. His monitor was different. His had a air-gapped, like, plastic cover that went over the CRT. This doesn't have one. Doesn't even have a space for it. But yeah, I picked this thing up for for basically nothing. So I can't wait to get it to the restoration. So I'm going to take some really good high-quality video shots of this to let you see what it looks like before, So when I do the after shot, we can see just how different it is. Okay, so it is, the keys are a little dirty, and this flopping mechanism is a little busted, but hopefully I can fix that. What's interesting is it has the built-in modem. I don't normally see this too often when I look up pictures of the Osborne, so I don't know if this is rare. I don't, you know, not that I care, because I'll never be able to use it. But we have the modem port here, a RS-232 serial port, which is the larger version, a IEEE 488 parallel port, which is very strange that it's a cartridge edge, contrast and brightness knobs, some sort of external, it's external video here, but I'm not quite sure what it's for, a hardware reset, a external battery port, which I've never seen the external batteries for these, so I don't know really what it would look like. And then we have an external composite connector, which I've never, on some of the older versions of the Osborne, I haven't seen that before. But, and also what's interesting is it has the Osborne logo with a 1 here. So I don't know if this is a later version of one. So there's some scuffing here. This panel is extremely yellowed, which is weird that it's so vastly yellowed from the rest of the case. This back panel is extremely yellowed, and unfortunately, as you can see, the handle is completely destroyed. In fact, I think David Murray's handle that got damaged was in much better shape than mine. And then you can see there's some dirt and stuff. So it's dirty. I have the keyboard unhooked for right now. So yeah, this thing doesn't need too much. In fact, I'm kind of not sure if I even want to retrobrite it. There's really not too much that needs retrobrited. I mean, there's a little bit of yellowing here on the edge of the keyboard, but nothing that would, you know, keep it from functioning. And that's the thing. It you know, it shouldn't keep it from functioning. Now, I do want to say, I have seen this thing work. I've seen it plugged in and powered on, which when she showed me that it was working, I got really nervous because these era of computers, they're known for the capacitors and the power supply, like the RIFA cap, blowing up and letting out the magic smoke. Now, even though this one does work, I've seen it work, I don't want to risk that, filling up my basement with smoke. So I'm not going to be turning it on until the very end of the video, or the very end of the restoration. So this restoration is going to be 2 parts. The first part is going to be the disassembly of the machine, and then the second part is going to be the retrobriting, the major cleaning and the major scrubbing, and the repairing of any damaged parts like the disk drive here. If I can repair it. If not, I might switch, I might see if I can switch drive A and B around. Just because I'd rather have the more functional drive be drive A, which is the main boot drive, because I want to try and put a GoTech in here, floppy emulator, which I know there's some purists out there who might not agree with that, but it would help getting stuff to that, or software into here. And the reason why I'm not going into too much detail with the machine yet is because I do want to do a lot more research on this machine, because I never thought I'd find one. This is kind of one of those computers that it's kind of like, well, in my area anyway, I have kind of a struggle finding a lot of like more desirable or iconic vintage machines, and that's kind of what if I go to my collection, it comprises of stuff like the VIC-20, the C64, you know, the TI-99, a Apple II Plus, my Bell & Howell Apple II Plus, which yes, the version of that is rare, but you know, still, it's not like I'm going to come across like a BBC Micro or an Amstrad or any of the Dragons, the Dragon 32, or any of the machines that, you know, if you look at the big collectors, that they have in their collection. So I was never actually searching for one of these, like, at all. So of course when I heard about one, I jumped on it. So we're going to begin with the teardown and start the cleaning process. And And luckily, all you need to tear these things apart is Phillips screwdrivers. No proprietary like Torx or weird size hex or anything like that, which is good. I also do want to say that the reason why I'm working on this bench instead of my workbench is because my workbench is still kind of torn apart at the moment. I'm trying to build some sturdier shelves and a better workbench in there so I can do better restorations and stuff. That's kind of my goal, is I want to get better rooms for this. So first is we're going to tear apart the keyboard. Okay, put down an old towel. Ironically, the day I got the call about this computer, I was actually rewatching a bunch of 8-Bit Guy videos. I was actually watching on my lunch break, and I just got done watching the first part of his restoration when I got the phone call. Ooh. So here's something interesting. Ooh, wrong camera. These are just itty bitty little machining screws. So if I lose any of these screws, I could realistically just go to my local parts store or automotive supply and get some. And we have a manufacture date of the keyboard anyway. It's backwards. Yeah, I'm trying a new camera out with a new microphone, so hopefully I get better stuff here. December 22nd of 1982. So this is not one of the first ones. This is actually about a year or two out from the build. So it's actually pretty clean. Looks like to take this out. Okay, I'm gonna have to remember how to put this back together because that is not keyed. Just gonna put okay. So what I find interesting is the keyboard is actually very similar to the Apple II keyboard, especially with Bell being on G. Set this aside. What's really cool is there's a very smooth patch right here at the very edge from somebody's palms. And it's just, what's really cool about these old computers is that you get kind of like a little bit of the history of these machines. Okay, let's take a look at the keys. They're gray. You know what? I'm going to say it. And I know somebody would probably mock me for it. But in all honesty, that feels really good. Like, that feels like a really good keyboard, actually. I mean, it says the full membrane, so I don't know how good it actually is. But there's a lot of springs. So let's just see if we can pop one off without breaking it. Oh. Well, now that is actually really cool. They come off almost kind of like a Model M keyboard in the buckling spring style, where it just kind of comes off. You can take the cap off the main key itself and the main mechanism stays there. So this is actually going to be pretty easy to tear down. Okay. I got a bigger organization thing for all my screws, because I'm 100% positive there's going to be a lot of screws. What's really weird, I don't remember a couple of restoration videos I've seen, I don't remember the keys coming off like this. I remember seeing it and they had to use key pullers and stuff. So could this be a later revision, maybe? I mean, obviously it's from '82, but could the internal mechanism be from a later model? Also, one thing of remembering, and I'm going to have to rewatch his video, I could swear his keys were like a brown color. And when he retro-brighted them, they came out marbled, because he used, for whatever reason. These look like they're more of a tan color. So, maybe I can retro-bright these keys? Although if I do, it's going to be in the submersion method, not the cream method. Okay, so that's on a bar system. Okay, we're just going to put that right back like that, and be really careful. And I really hope I don't have an audio problem, because I think my audio problem is my phone. So yeah, there's a lot of dust bunnies in there, and it's made from Oak Technologies. And the internal part number is date code 42nd week of 82, so I guess it's not a later revision. You know, I'm thinking these center caps, I bet they come out. But we're not going to worry about that right now. Now let's work on this. Yeah, even the front face are machine screws. Unplug this modem here, so it's easier to take the face off. I like this little warning sticker right here under the Osborne logo. It says no user serviceable parts inside. I bet they didn't think that about 40 years later, guys like me would be getting in here with the intention that they're user serviceable. Okay, so there's only 6 machine screws. I just thought about this. I want to find somebody to fix that handle. So we have 6 face screws, brightness and contrast knobs. And 1 faceplate with the modem that I don't know how it's in there, because there's no external holes. What if that's factory? Okay, so there's the itty bitty teeny tiny monochrome monitor. It's very dusty, but it shouldn't be too bad. I also should. Ooh. Yeah, it even comes with the actual power cord, which is nice. Ooh, just long enough. More machine screws. So it looks like there's only 5 screws. Ooh, is that gonna reach? Oh, it does. So yeah, like I said, this part 1 is gonna be mainly just me tearing this thing apart. And getting it ready for restoration, because I got a feeling this thing's gonna need some parts. Ooh, that came out pretty. Okay, there's the destroyed handle, which I'll need to get fixed. The top case. Okay. It's so weird when I see just generic like eyelets. Oops. Generic eyelets and power supply routings. Grab by this. Set that case piece aside. What's so funny is that you can see so many like marks that this thing's been machined. More motherboard screws. Okay. Let's unplug power. Unplug this weird daughter board and the floppy here. Oh, and this. Okay. I'm going to remove the power supply real quick because this is something that I've actually been curious about. Because my only concern is I need to make sure that I don't take this thing apart so far where I can't remember where it goes, how it goes together. Okay, now we have the power supply. Here's something weird. There's an unhooked wire right here. So I don't see any proof this thing's ever been messed with. But I also don't see any bulging or leaking caps. But guess what I do see? This little RIFA cap here is cracking. And so is these two caps. So those two are going to get replaced. Okay, so here's the main motherboard. And it's actually really fascinating. Like, it's actually really simple. Whole bunch of memory RAM chips. It's a revision K. And it looks like it's got some daughter boards here. So I'm going to have to look up. Okay, so that reset button doesn't want to come out very good. But we have this board here that the floppy connector hooked into, and this that the monitor hooked into. So with some very long pass-throughs. So I wonder if this is some sort of monitor upgrade. I'm going to have to do some research on this daughter board here. Obviously I'm not taking it off for any reason. I really don't need to. And there's a lot of soldered wires under there. I am not taking that off. Not even to unseat any of those chips. But we also have this daughter board, which is plugged into the floppy drive. So I wonder if this has some sort of floppy drive upgrade. I don't know. So yeah, this is part one of the Osborne OCC1 restoration. I'm going to cut as little footage as I have because now I have a way to finally have footage. So I'm I also wanted to make sure I knew how to take this thing apart and put it back together again. So yeah, this thing is basically going to be put on the project shelf because I need to get some capacitors for this power supply. Well, actually, yeah, this thing hasn't been plugged in basically ever, but yeah, that RIFA cap is cracking very, very badly. And so are these two little guys. So I'm going to be talking to some guys, seeing where they get parts from, and order some parts for this thing. But I want to get this thing up and operational because I think it'd be kind of neat to have one. So yeah, this is the end of part one, restoration of the Osborne computer. This is definitely a lot more involved than any of my other restorations, especially with the video footage amount. So with this cracking RIFA cap and these two cracking caps right here, I'm going to be replacing those. I'm going to be talking to some guys on there's a Facebook group I'm on, the Osborne for restorations and stuff, and see if I can figure out what these caps are and replace them. Because part two is going to be me reassembling this thing, fixing the power supply, fixing the floppy drive, hopefully fixing the floppy drive, and doing a lot more research on these two daughter boards. I'm not sure what these are. I'm making assumptions that one's for floppy drive, one's for video, but I don't know. And then it's going to be retrobrighting, cleaning, and putting it back together and showing it working. So with that being said, thanks everyone for watching part 1 of the Osborne Restoration series. There's only going to be 2 parts in this one, not 3 like I've been prone for doing lately. If you have any comments, put them down below. If you know where I can get software, or if you even have software, especially copies. I love copies of software. These originals are that, you know, if it goes bad, I'm, you know, kind of disheartened. So if you have any copies of Osborne software that I can use on this, whether it's be productivity or any text games, because it runs CPM, apparently. I'll need to do some more research on it. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot more research, figure out what everything is, put it back together, get it working in part 2. So stay tuned for that.